Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at the MOSAIC Safety Controller Emergency Stop. Now, up on my screen here, you see our program that we developed last time, and what we'll look at is actually the input of the e-stop and what we can do with that. Now, detailed information contained in the video can be found at accautomation.ca. A link has been put in the description below. If you have not watched the other videos yet, there will be links in the description below that will start you at video 1. There will be links to the rest of the videos as well. So if we look at our emergency stop here, you'll see that right now it's set for a single input. We can actually change that if we want to add a double input, and that will give us a little bit of redundancy. And then we can assign that input number. And then we can also, with that, we have simultaneity, which basically means right here that if we enable that, it will actually look at the time difference between the two inputs to ensure that they are equal within this many milliseconds that we set. However, what we actually have connected is just a single. So that is an option for a little bit of redundancy for you. Then we have a manual reset. Now, what we'll do in our case here is actually add a manual reset. And you see it automatically gives us a reset input to our diagram here. And we have two different kinds of resets. We have monitored and we have manual. So if we're not sure, we can hit F1, which is the hotkey, which gives us a help file. And if we look down or scroll down, we can see here that under the manual reset, we actually have the manual here. So that means that the reset would actually have to come on, and 250 milliseconds later, the output then will come on after we hit that reset. If it's monitored, what we're looking for is a reset on condition for at least 250 milliseconds and off again for 250 milliseconds, so half a second, and then it will reset. So that's the two different ones. And if you take a note here, if the enabled reset is active, a consecutive input must be used. So currently right now we have input number 1, so that we're using for our e-stop. And so if we have our reset, then that will use automatically input number 2. So let's just close that down. So what we'll do is do monitored. So that's exactly what we have here. And if we actually hit this input, we'll actually put it as input number 2. So there's our input, our manual input reset. Next, what we'll do is we'll look at our output test. And right now we have no output test at all. And if we look back at the original diagram that we had for our circuit, you'll see here that our input was going right from our 24 volt plus into our input pin number 17. So if we were to take pin number 17, tie it right to the 24 volt, then we would not see any difference in the logic. It would still continue to operate. So let's now put on a test, and we'll do test number 1. What you'll see on here is that we now wire it to pin 13 for our test 1. So if we look back at the diagram, instead of having this directly wired, we have this wired. So it goes pin number 13 goes through our e-stop, and our e-stop goes into pin 17. So that creates our test output. Now what the test output does, and we'll just zoom this in here, is you can see it sends out a series of pulses and will allow to ensure that we have a actual e-stop connected to that unit. So that actually allows us to detect our short circuit protection. So now we look back at this, and we will now go a startup test. And what a startup test will do is allow us to, as soon as the power is applied to our controller, to actually run it through a test first. So you must hit the e-stop and then the reset, and then everything will then operate. So that's only on a power up of the actual unit itself. So we'll turn that on. And then we have a filter time. And this filter time is actually used to stop any bouncing that would happen on your contacts. So if we hit an e-stop, sometimes because it's a physical contact, it will actually bounce, and it can actually, the controller is fast enough that it will actually read those bounces and give you false signals. So we can adjust the filter time. In our case here, we're going to leave it at the 3 milliseconds. So this is our new program, and like we showed before, this is actually our wiring diagram for that circuit. So we have everything the same as before, except for now we have our test output going to our input signal, and we have our push button reset going back into pin number 18. So looking at the physical hardware, if we see, here is my e-stop circuit, and here's my black and my orange, and they're going back into my input, and my black is going back into my test of my unit down here. So that's going into pin 13. Then we have our reset, and our reset is actually going to the next input pin, which is 18, and the other wire is going to my plus voltage back here. So that is my circuit itself. So let's now connect to our controller. You see the MOSAIC is present, and we have it's unconnected. So let's verify, and there's our verification report with our checksum. We'll say OK, so everything looks good. Then we will connect to the controller, and we will put in the password. And remember, this is going to be capitals, and it's going to be safe pass. And now if we look down our connection state, the MOSAIC is present, and we're connected at level number 2. And we're connected at level 2 because we want to transfer the program. So we're going to send the configuration over to the controller. Make sure you want to send it there. Yes. So now it's going to write that information into our controller for us. Now this takes a couple of seconds here, and you can see that we're actually communicating through our USB port located right here on the controller. And you'll see our comm light is lit. Flip this lid up so you can actually see that right here. And then writes it, saves it. And it takes a few seconds. There we go. So the programming is successful. So we'll hit OK. Then what we can do is we can actually monitor this system. And first of all, we'll hit cancel for that. What we have to do is actually disconnect and restart the controller in order to take effect. So let's do that first. Restart executed. So we'll hit OK. So now our program is actually running, and now let's monitor it. And this actually monitors at level number 1, so we do not need a password, so we'll just hit OK. So now we are monitoring our system. Now remember, our startup happened. So when our startup happened, you'll see now that we have this broken output here. So let's activate it. Okay. Reset it just to do our test. And then we'll hit reset. And everything works. You'll see now that we have green. So let's hit that again. Let's hit e-stop. As soon as we hit e-stop, you see our line is solid. We'll take the e-stop away. And now our line is hash marked, so meaning that we don't have an error here, but we need the reset signal. And it takes half a second. So 250 milliseconds for the press of the button of the reset, and then 250 milliseconds to actually activate that to reset it. Like that. and away we go. And then we're back in operating. Now, keep in mind that we do have that test signal. So if we were to take our black wire that we have here, and let's just disconnect it. As soon as we disconnect it, what happens is our output goes off. Let's try connecting that directly to the plus voltage again, like we had before. And when we do, you'll notice that we actually have a signal on our input that actually flashes, indicating we have something wrong here, which is we've actually tried to short circuit this unit. So let's just plug that back into our connector, the right connection, and then we'll hit our reset, and again we have our E-step all ready to go again. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. If you have any questions about the video, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it. If you want more information about us, or you want our 2 free ebooks on numbering systems or bus data logging, please click on the link in the description below to get it. A new video is put out every Monday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can get more videos like this in the future. Remember to click the bell beside your subscription to actually receive those notifications. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.